guilt-free pleasure. At 67, hey, what could be nicer?
Wendy Bruner says her first experience with pot was back in the 70s.
I was handed a joint and I took one puff and choked to death and said, I will never do this again. This is gross. And so I never did it again, ever, 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 until recently.
And what happened recently?
Well, they had granola bars, and I decided to try one, and wow, it was fabulous. It made this crazy mind that's a realtor and always thinking and running to go and just go, whatever.
A different kind of senior moment, to be sure.
This was a CNBC documentary on marijuana in America. Hi, my name is Denise Patterson. 5 years ago, I had to do a 10-page research paper on medicinal marijuana. I was so against it. I thought marijuana should not be used. I thought that it was a dangerous drug. Today, I'm here to persuade you to urge the state government to legalize marijuana. Current enforcement is expensive and problematic, and your tax dollars are on use, trying to put away people that use marijuana as well as sell marijuana. I will illustrate the problems created in society when people have to illegally obtain marijuana, the cause of why marijuana has become illegal, and some benefits for legalizing. The problem with marijuana is that it's illegal right now, and it keeps treatment from people who need it. The National Conference of State Legislators says a total of 23 states and districts of Colombia and Guam allows the public to use medicinal marijuana and cannabis programs. The problem with that is some of those states don't recognize patients from other states. For example, Montana, Illinois, Guam, and Colorado. If you were to come from another state trying to obtain medical marijuana for whatever illness you may have, you cannot obtain marijuana that way. It also restricts the choice of using, and is the U.S. really free if you don't have the choice to decide what kind of medicine you want to use if you're in pain, or if you want to decompress after a long workday? Jimmy Carter, former president, once said this: to forbid or even seriously restrict the use of so holy and gracious a herb would cause widespread suffering and annoyance. It would rob the people of solace in discomfort, of cure in sickness, of a guardian whose precious protection saves them from the attacks of evil influences. So obviously, he was pro-marijuana. Now that I've discussed some of the problems with illegal marijuana, we'll look at the causes of why marijuana is still illegal today. A dangerous drug is what most people call it. The Office of National Drug Control Policy says confusing messages being presented by popular culture, media, proponents of medical marijuana, and political campaigns to legalize all marijuana use and perpetuate the false notion that marijuana is harmless. And not at one time did I say that marijuana use is harmless. Marijuana use, if it was legal in the United States, would threaten certain powerful businesses like it did in 1937. For instance, William Randolph Hearst and DuPont would stand to lose millions of dollars from their Fortune 500 companies. For example, Hearst, he owned many strains of newspaper companies, and he used that to his advantage to keep marijuana use illegal by allowing the media to portray African American men using marijuana would make them act in such a way that they raped white women. Marijuana use is criminalized in the recreation form and medicinal form in some of the 50 states. But 1/6 of prisoners in prisons right now are there because of charges related to marijuana. $11.3 billion a year are used to keep those men in prison. Opponents of illegal marijuana cite the dangers to individual and society. They say that, for instance, marijuana use is bad for individuals. 43% says this. That marijuana is a dangerous addictive drug. 30% says this. The one that I find most interesting is number 3 here. Marijuana should be kept illegal and needs to be policed, which is, as we discussed, a waste of your tax dollars. Kathleen Murray said hemp is the #1 biomass source on Earth and could easily provide the U.S. with all of its oil and gas needs, ending dependence on fossil fuel. So I feel like that is the most daunting evidence to show why the U.S. government would want to keep marijuana use illegal, so that they can use other resources, and which causes you money in the long run. The solution to the problem would obviously be to make marijuana legal. Misconceptions is that everyone should use it, and the U.S. will be a lazy society if marijuana is legalized. And I don't think so. I don't think just because everyone has access to marijuana that everyone would use marijuana. For instance, I was in a car accident last year and I have chronic hip pain. Just because if I had access to marijuana, I wouldn't use marijuana, because that just wouldn't be my preferred method of treatment. But I do think that freedom should be protected. You should have your own choice to make that decision. Benefits of regulation can come in the form of tax revenue. According to California State University Northridge, their paper is a sundial. Since medical marijuana has been legal in California since 1996, they have earned $14 billion in money that can be used for grants, putting students in school, building new roadways, or keeping up with the ones that we already have. It's estimated that legalizing could generate between $1.5 to $4 billion in revenue if California could legalize and go past just medical marijuana. If the government saves $11.3 billion a year, what would you want them to spend that money on? Because all in all, it comes from you. It's your taxpayers' dollar. Another solution with marijuana being widespread is that everyone could use it for its medicinal properties. George Weiner is a physician in Maryland, and he says that legalizing is about science and compassion. Keeping safe and effective medicine from sick people is inhumane, and I agree with that 100%. Today I have illustrated the problems created in society when people illegally obtain medical marijuana, the cause of why marijuana became illegal, and some benefits for legalizing. I'm here to persuade you to urge the state that medical marijuana should be legalized effective immediately. My 5 years research on medical marijuana has pushed me to now believe that marijuana should just be widespread available for the population use. Of course, since law enforcement agencies are distracted by trying to put people in jail for possession and selling of marijuana, your taxpayer dollars could be used on something else, and it's time that you spoke up about that. I'm going to leave you with a short video.
To figure out in my own mind, is this innocent or insidious?
Do I think this is better than a beer? Yeah. The beer has 0 healing properties.
That sounds like rationalization to me.
I personally don't have an issue whether you're doing it recreationally or whether you're doing it for medicinal reasons. Just like anything else in this world, as long as you handle it responsibly, the emphasis falls back on you. Personal freedom.
Personal freedom. It's your personal freedom to decide whether or not you want to use marijuana. But I do hope that I have persuaded you to urge the government to make this legal immediately. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.